Hi, welcome back to another episode of Accept Then Achieve. I'm actually here in Nepal right now in this beautiful co-working space and hotel, actually thanks to my guest, who I'm going to introduce in a moment. Danny Flood is a best-selling author and global entrepreneur known for his latest book, Unlimit, Breaking the Boundaries and Becoming Superhuman. And as the founder of the School of Growth Hacking, he has trained thousands of entrepreneurs and professionals worldwide, sharing cutting-edge strategies in business growth, productivity, and AI. A world nomad, Danny has traveled to over 40 countries and leads high-end retreats, such as this one here in Nepal right now, fostering innovation and connection among digital entrepreneurs. With over 25 years in direct marketing and sales, he's hosted live seminars in dozens of countries, empowering individuals to achieve extraordinary results and new levels of productivity and performance. So thank you so much, Danny, for making the time to speak with us today.
Always a pleasure, Tony. Thank you.
He's right over there, people, in the same co-working space. But yeah, so what inspired you to come speak on this podcast?
Well, my relationship with you, first of all, we've known each other for a little bit, and now you're here at the retreat. And how's my audio? Is that okay on your side?
I think so. It's a little bit of,
Okay, no problem. Yeah, well, when you told me about the idea behind your podcast, I definitely something that I can relate to, and we had some interesting conversations here at the co-living about a variety of different topics. And so I thought, when I looked over your podcast and some of the questions, I thought, well, there's a lot that I can share on based on my own journey and my own growth in my life. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about that.
yeah, absolutely. So what has your complicated relationship with acceptance and achievement been like for you?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I can think back to a specific moment in my life where about 15 years ago, I was in my home of San Diego, far from here in Nepal, and I was looking for rooms to rent there as a young man. And I was looking around this apartment, and this guy worked for the Tony Robbins organization, and on his table, he had probably dozens of cassettes from Tony. And I didn't end up renting a room from him, but he handed off 10 of these cassettes to me, and I think they were CDs. I was listening to them in my car over the next couple of weeks, and you know, absorbing all of the information from Tony. And one of the things he said really stuck with me, and he said that basically characterized. He said that many people feel that they need to achieve in order to be happy, and he was saying that's not really the case at all, and that we can happily achieve. And he continued by saying that he created a measuring stick of success for himself, where if he gives his best effort and he learns something, then he's successful. And if you set your barometer this way, he sets it up so that it basically makes it impossible for him to fail. And I think that's what it comes down to. Just give your best effort. You can't always know the outcome, but if you have faith in yourself and you follow the process, then chances are you'll be satisfied with the outcome. And there was also a famous basketball coach, John Wooden, the coach for the UCLA basketball team, and that's exactly what he told his athletes was basically, I want you to give your best effort for the entire duration of the game. Don't look at the scoreboard, and as long as you do that, you give 100%, give the best that you can give. I'm pretty sure that you're going to be happy with the outcome, and it's basically like a philosophy for life. And he ended up going on to win 10 NCAA championships. So apparently it works, and that's the philosophy that I follow as well. I've learned to love the challenge and setting a clear goal, and even if I don't reach it, I know that I can be satisfied with my own performance, and I can have faith in myself that I know that I'm going to show up. I'm going to give it my best.
Wonderful. I love that. I think a lot of the listeners here, yeah, need to hear it that way too. Yeah, and I've heard it's also can be just like you're living by your values. As long as you are living every day, every moment by your values, then that's already a success because you're being true to yourself. And that's part of, for me, what it means to happily achieve. So what has your life been like with this whole journey? I mean, you've been a nomad for 15 years. What was it like just taking this different alternative life path from others, from the norm.
Well, I think the measuring sticks of success obviously change, and I've learned that these arbitrary targets, like trying to earn a certain amount of money or something like this, money comes and goes. But what always stays is what you invest in yourself. All of the lessons and all of the knowledge you acquire, all the experience you get. It's like making an investment into your own internal bank, and that always is with you. Win, lose, or fail, whatever outcome you get, you're always becoming smarter, you're always becoming stronger. Um, but in terms of if I were to go back, like to the beginning, and I don't want to, give you 20 years of my life here on this podcast, but my father, he was always like priming me to be like the best I could be. And I had all these chores and habits that he gave me. Like, if we went to the arcade, I told you about this story, like 10, we get had to do 10 push-ups for 1 quarter. So we get like 2.5 cents per push-up, So me and my friends are doing push-ups in there, if we want to play the video games. And he prodded me on all these things like to make me successful in life. Like, um, I got my start in business when I was like 9 years old because he told me to go knock on people's doors and offer to take out their trash for them to get tips. So I was knocking on doors at 9 years old, and we had a pull-up bar in the doorway of my room. I did 10 pull-ups before I go to school. I had a bunch of posters of articles from like Earl Morale and Vince Lombardi. It said like what it takes to be number one. And all this stuff really paid off when I became an adult because I had all of these like habits and principles instilled in me. But my father also was very loving and supportive of me no matter what path I took in life. Like his love was unconditional, so I'm very grateful for that. I know a lot of people don't have that. But that's really interesting because I've internalized a set of personal principles in my life, um, and uh, and that's kind of what I use as the cornerstone for everything that I do. Uh, and it's interesting because that didn't always manifest itself in like professional and career success. Um, Even now, I've accomplished a lot externally, but I don't feel like I've reached the mountaintop where I'm successful. I sometimes just feel like I'm playing at a higher level and trying to trying to get to the next level. And so it's almost like failing at a higher level. So people looking in from the outside, they say like, look at all the things this guy has done. He's like massively successful, but from the inside, it doesn't always feel that way. I think I'm always like raising my standards, and it almost feels like I'm failing at a higher level. Um, because even if you achieve the goals that you set, there's always going to be examples of somebody who's like doing 10 times more um, than you do. And I felt that way as a boy when I was starting out my marketing business. Like a lot of my friends were making way more money than me, and I was like doing like SEO, WordPress design, websites, and stuff like this for however much money I could. And I had friends doing like Facebook ads and making like $15,000 a month and like 23 years old, like what's going on here? And I realized like with like Facebook ads, for example, these companies have a lot of money to start with, it's pay to play. And I was like, trying to design websites for like $1,000, $2,000. So what I had to realize was that it wasn't a problem with me. It's just like one or two things that I had to change in my business. And so that's the way like I have the maturity and the analytical ability where I can see like, okay, I don't have to take everything personally. I can say like, okay, this is the reason why we're not making as much money, or this is the reason why business is struggling. And sometimes it's just one little thing that you need in your business or your life, and that can make a big difference.
Thank you for sharing. That's so interesting. I haven't heard that of someone feeling like, oh, you're failing at a higher level. That is, but it sounds like that's motivating for you. You're just like, oh yeah, there's always more. The journey's never ending for you. Because I find that some people, at least for me, I feel like I'm always failing. That doesn't really motivate me. That almost makes me want to give up sometimes. I'm just wondering how you dealt with that, and or each person's
Um,
different.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like I'm doing a crowdfunding campaign right now, right? And I'm on track to reach my goal, but it's only $10,000. And then I have another friend who raised like $500,000 for his book, right? So obviously I'm not in his league yet, but I'm achieving the goals that I set for myself, and I'm reaffirming the process, and what I have for me works. So I think that people say that comparison is the thief of joy.
Absolutely.
So as long as it's successful to me and my values and improving myself as a person, then I'm continuing my growth. And I reached this point where I was in like Bangkok maybe 10 years ago and I was trying something new, like I'm always doing something new. And I was publishing books on Amazon and maybe making like 99 cents per download or something. It wasn't enough to feed myself. And um, I was like, well, shoot, this is the path that I started. Um, and I decided like I'm gonna try to fail 200 times every day because I watched this video about language learning from this guy fluent in 3 months. His name's Benny something, like Benny Lewis or something. And his advice about learning languages is set a goal to fail 200 times a day. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna apply that same rule to business and marketing. You know, I'm gonna start promoting the heck out of my stuff, out of my products, get it out there more. And it's interesting because my mom was working for my dad for a while doing sales, and he's like, if you can get 25 no's on the phone, I'll give you $1,000 bonus. And so like, she kept trying to get those no's, but eventually she'd get a sale. So it's really hard to actually fail 200 times. Maybe you'll succeed like 1% of the time or 2% of the time. And that kind of like gets you forward. And somehow, you kind of figure out what's working and then you go further and further down the path. So I like to say that, success is built on a ladder of failures or a staircase of failures. Each one is another step up.
That is so true. I think that's what a lot of people, especially perfectionists, are so afraid of. Any tips for how to get rid of our fear of failure? I mean, that's a great incentive. Just like, yeah, just get no's. It's the no game. Any other tips for just feeling more comfortable with rejection and failure and the embarrassment or the shame?
Um, well, I think that the real pain that fear causes you is in your own mind. It's not from anything external. If someone rejects you, it's not like you're going to suddenly have a heart attack or, the Grim Reaper is going to come swoop in and, chop off your head or something like this. So, really, like it's all inside of you. It's your own thoughts that can damage you the most. And so, um, I think that you have to have the right mindset going in. Um, and in terms of my system of productivity and what I teach in my book, for example, um, it's about managing your own energy more than managing time and managing your willpower, your motivation, your focus, your concentration, your purpose, So if all of those things are rock solid at your core, then all of these other things are trifling. Um, it's when you double down and you turn on yourself, that's when you have the biggest danger. So any negativity, I mean, it's like I'm almost amused by it. Like if I have a negative thought, I don't have to accept it. I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but I can come right back and then get right back on track. And there's things that I do that help with that. Guided meditations on YouTube, for example. There's a lot of hypnotherapists like Paul McKenna or Marissa Peer, Daily Motivation. You can listen to those in the morning and like program your mind with the right thoughts. But before you go like into a professional boxing match, for example, you want to prime your mind, or performing Olympics, you want to like program your mind with like affirmations and things. So I believe that everything that you do adds up. Your brain keeps score. So the more that you engage in these positive habits, the stronger your mindset is going to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is all on the inside. And a lot of times that we feel like other people are judging us or really we've made such a fatal mistake we can't come back from it. And then all along people just didn't even give us 2 seconds of their time. They're just like, oh, that's interesting what this person's doing, and then move on. Yeah, the mindset work, that's a great point you mentioned, managing energy rather than time. Because sometimes if you're just so focused on what your life purpose is or your goal, then you're just like, yeah, all the setbacks, it doesn't even matter. It kind of like just almost that we're immune, right? Like I just imagine you just being like, oh yeah, that's just water off a duck's back or just things coming at us. And we're like, no, we're just so focused on the goal that we have or the mission that we have for life. How did you find
There's
your
a
life?
powerful expression I heard once that's like, I reject your reality and I substitute my own. So
Oh
if,
yeah,
if
I
your
like
reality is
that.
if your reality is strong enough, like some troll comes online or something and they have an anonymous profile and they say like, oh, your book is nothing new, it's nothing original, just give up or something. Like,
Mm,
I mean, I don't have to listen to that because I know that what I'm doing, I believe in what I'm doing. And um, when I say energy, it's everything. It's your health, it's your emotions. If you optimize all of this stuff, it just makes life easier. You don't have to struggle to climb uphill.
hmm
You can effortlessly achieve and find joy in the process. So that's really where I focus on first. As long as I've got that first, I know that I can probably achieve anything.
Yeah, such a good point. That reminds me of like someone saying like, "I reject your rejection." Just kind of similar to what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing all that. Um, I was going to ask you, like, how did you come to finding your life's purpose, or just you had known from a young age that, hey, I really want to help people also live their best lives, or how was that? And any tips for people to find their life's purpose?
Yeah, well, I think it's again, like finding the joy in every day. And I follow my intuition. My intuition knows what it needs to do. Um, as long as I'm making the most every day, I'm doing things I love every day, following my passion, I'm productive, I'm healthy, and with good people like you, I'm in a beautiful place like this. I mean, what else more do I need? And so when I say like, purpose, I mean every day you can have a different purpose. Your purpose could change every time. Um, and I really think that life is what you make it. I've been a nomad myself for like 15 years. And we were having this conversation the other day where you were saying like a lot of us are running away from something like family trauma or something like this. And I would say that I it wasn't so much like running away from something as like running towards a more exciting and passionate life, more adventure and more passion. I read the book, The 4 Hour Work Week, and
Yeah,
uh,
me too.
yeah, and it presented like this alternate path where I didn't have to, get a mortgage and work for 50 years. And I dreamed of like these adventures in South America and the Amazon and Myanmar and stuff. And it actually manifested all of this stuff, um, each and every adventure. And so the real thing is like, when I started, I had these irrational fears, like, what am I going to eat when I get in South America? What if I get sick or I run out of money or I get robbed or something like this? And I just think all of these are just road bumps. We create walls in our minds when we let these things stop us. They're just road bumps. They might hurt you or sting for a little while. I mean, if I get my phone stolen or if I get an injury, but it doesn't stop you on the path. And it can hurt you more in your own mind than in the real world. And the real problem is when these create these obstacles and you get locked in place, and that's when you start to get unhappy. And you can reprogram yourself to get past them. And I always believe that delays are the biggest killer of dreams. And these delays are caused by these excuses that you make in your own mind.
Absolutely. And also, it's like people think about the dangers of a certain place or traveling abroad. They forget that it's dangerous staying in your home country too. If you drive, that's more dangerous than flying flying in a plane. It's just like these things that we don't think about. Like life is inherently risky. Okay, we might die, we might get injured. Do you want to do it while having fun or having the most fun and the most joy and purpose and meaning that you can? Or do you want to just be like, oh no, I'm just going to play it safe? Because I've learned from dealing with anxiety and a lot of other issues, it's just like worrying about them is not going to make them less likely to happen. Sometimes it makes them more likely to happen with the self-fulfilling prophecy that you just look for problems. But, it's just realizing there is uncertainty to life. We can't control everything.
There's a expression in the manifestation realm that says worrying is praying for what you don't want.
I did hear that.
So when you focus on those worries, you're more likely to create them.
Yeah.
You're more likely to manifest them. So that's why it's really important to, and I teach this in the book, like some different exercises, like visualization exercises. Imagine there's a thought that's unpleasant to you. You can change your relationship to that thought. So if it has a visual component, imagine that thought is like a bubble or a balloon, and you slowly feel it floating away. And it gets further and further in distance, and then you can no longer see it. You no longer have a relationship to that thought. Or if you have a voice in your head telling you this fear, turn the volume down. Give it like a funny voice, like Pepe Le Pew or Daffy Duck or something like this, and turn the volume all the way down so you can't hear it. And then focus on the things that you do want. make the picture big and bright, vibrant colors. Imagine a mountain setting like this in Nepal, and then feel how excited you feel. So you can change your relationship to those thoughts through your senses, like how you see something or how you hear something, and just gently push it away in your mind.
I Yep, I remember that one. It's a good one from NLP, neuro linguistic programming techniques that have
Yeah.
scientific basis. I just thought of this, and I know a lot of people have this concern. It's like if you don't think about any of the bad things that can happen, like running out of money or like planning for the future, isn't that irresponsible? Like, how do we achieve that balance between being responsible, planning for our future, versus living fully in the present too, and really going for our biggest life?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question. Like I said, a person who focuses on abundance, right? We were out kayaking yesterday, and you guys all gave me the money, and I had a lot of cash in my hands, and I was like playing the song "Never Going Broke," like manifesting abundance. I'm just joking. But what I'm saying is that I believe that if you can always create a bigger pie, you can always create more abundance in your life, and that tends to solve a lot of the problems that come from scarcity. So, like with these retreats, for example, the first one I did in Greece, we had three guests. And now here in Nepal, we have 35. So in 2 years' time, that's a more than 11 times increase in the number of customers that we have. I'm organizing a summit here at this resort in about 6 or 7 months, and I want to get 250 people. So I know that there's going to be certain costs, and I need to be responsible about how we manage things. I believe from an entrepreneurial perspective, you always want to keep your costs as low as possible because you minimize your liabilities. A lot of businesses fail because they take on a lot of employees too fast or they take on a lot of obligations too quickly when they're not getting enough cash flow. So my focus is on selling as many tickets as possible, getting as many customers as possible, creating as much abundance as possible, creating a bigger pie, rather than analyzing too closely how I'm dividing up a smaller pie. So I know that if I rent a conference room at a place like this, it's like $250 a day. But if I sell more tickets, then that's a small cost. So I guess I'm putting like more than 98% of my energy on how I create a bigger pie rather than how I'm dividing up the smaller pie, if that makes sense. But I do think that it is important to look at the results that you get and look at the costs and see, where you can be more efficient and see like where you're wasting effort and how you can double down on the things that are giving you a good return.
Got it. I like that analogy with the
Yeah.
pie, and realizing that, yeah, that we do have a lot of like infinite possibilities and opportunities, really. Like we all have skills, and we can trust ourselves that, we'll never run out of money. Like we can learn how to use our skills to serve other people and make it work, right? I think a lot of people
If I
worry
can give
about that
another
though.
example,
Yeah.
yeah, if I can give another concrete example, like I'm running a Kickstarter campaign right now for my book, and Kickstarter makes it really easy to track where you're getting money from, where you're getting pledges from. So every source where you're getting traffic, you can track how much money you raise. And so I have probably about like 25 different links for different traffic sources. And it's very easy to see like, okay, these are the 70, 80% of stuff that didn't do anything. Here are like the 3 or 4 things that are really working. Let's see how we can continue doing that and just not focus on all the other stuff. So I guess like it's probably like 90% of the your effort and focus is like, how can I go out and create abundance? How can I find customers? How can I create more money? But then 10% is looking at your results and then seeing like, okay, like 80% of this stuff, 80/20 rule probably isn't working at all. Let's double down on the 20%, the 10% that's really working.
Yeah, that reminds me too, just of like a lot of us, we focus on what's failing when we're ignoring what is working. So just being able to take a
Mm,
bigger picture of and see everything in a more balanced perspective, because so many high achievers who are like listening to this podcast are just so used to be like, oh no, no, that was a fluke, or like I can't repeat that again. But really,
yeah.
yeah, not discounting, letting us really soak in like what went well and everything. And I'm just curious to hear more about your book. Would you like to tell people a bit about your Kickstarter and your book? This is a great title, Unlimit.
Um, yeah, of course. Well, I think it's really I mean, I looked at your questions and like you had a lot of questions that you sent me before this interview. Like one of them was like books and stuff that I read, that I recommend. And honestly, like I've been on this journey for like 20 years now of like accumulating knowledge and experience, reading different books, distilling the lessons from them, applying this stuff in the real world. And the my book Unlimit is based on all of this, accumulation of knowledge and experience, real life lessons that have made the biggest difference in my life. And so, like when I was starting out my journey, like when I was, if anything we said resonates with you on this podcast, I'd recommend checking out the book because it's stuff that I wish I had 20 years ago. And honestly, like if I was to go back 20 years, I would probably just follow the same path because my advice would be to like go out and get as much experience, learn as much as possible, take as many risks as possible, take action as much as possible. And then you can really connect the dots and figure out what's authentic to you and what's really working for you. And you can find where your place is in the world as well. Go out and there's an expression from Jordan Peterson. He's like, go out in the world and fail, conquer. You might lose your body, but if you just stay where you are, you're going to lose your soul. And actually, I was here in Nepal last year and I picked up his book, Beyond Order. And I've read a bunch of these books, and there's usually like one or two lessons that really stick with me. And one of the lessons was that you need to face the metaphorical dragon in your life. So whatever it is, that thing that you fear that's like lurking in the cave, um, there's a chance that you might lose your head, beaten alive, or burned alive. But that's also where the treasure, the hidden hoard of treasure is. Like think of the Hobbit, or where the kidnapped princess is. So that's what you really want the most in your life. You have to face that dragon. And chances are that it's not a real fire-breathing dragon. It's just something that you're avoiding facing. And yeah, so the question was about my book, right? So about
Yes.
my book, I definitely recommend checking it out because it's really a guide that can help you on this path. It talks about how to optimize every area of your life so that you can perform at your best. Whether it comes to energy or time, leveraging the AI revolution. I have specific techniques for how you can maximize your use of AI, how you can get more joy in your work, you can find more passion in your life, more motivation to accomplish your goals, and to really help you to do all that in less time, in a fraction of the time, and continue to multiply those efforts until they become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, that's just like sounds like a life manual. Here's how to live your life with more joy and meaning and purpose in shorter than 20 years.
It's a lot. And yeah, I mean, in Buddhism, they say that, the Buddha says, my life is the way. Study my life and you'll know the way. And it's the same with this book. Like I applied everything I learned to this book and I pretty much wrote the whole thing in about a month, like, 90% of the book. Um, and that's 104,000 words, I think. So, I had everything just completely flow. And that's exactly what I want to teach, like how to enter those flow states, how to be so aligned with your purpose, your mission, how to eliminate internal resistance forever, um, how to perform your best creative work. These are all things that I teach in the book. And so I know that, there's like 70 chapters in the book, and it's really helped me throughout my life to get where I am. And I hope that it'll help you too.
Awesome, thank you. Just switching back to acceptance and achievement. Like, what have been your struggles? What are still your challenges now? What helped you the most to accept yourself? I know you listed so many things and techniques and books and everything, but just wanted to hear more about that. Maybe about like if you
Um,
had any rock bottom moments or key turning points that really stuck out to you.
yeah. Well, I think there's always external challenges, but I would say that they don't really have any sway over me anymore. I mean, I can limit their effect on me. My priority is to look after my own self, keep my own house in order, optimize my life as good as I can. Um, and so if as long as I do those things, as long as I take care of myself, everything else kind of falls into place. That's like the biggest project is myself. Like this summit here later in Nepal. I've never done this before. I've never organized an event for 250 people to come to the other side of the world to a summit. I don't know how successful my efforts will be, but I have faith in myself. I have absolute faith in myself. As long as I follow my processes and I work hard, I know that I'm going to be happy with the outcome. Um, so like, and I have all of these things in place that, help me to perform my best. And that's why I have confidence in myself. Like, um, for example, like I learned from the neuroscientist Daniel Amen, maybe you've seen him on YouTube, that the best way to improve your mental health is to improve your physical health. Vigorous exercise. And you're an avid fitness enthusiast yourself, but your brain keeps score of everything that you do. And
Mm.
every single thing that you do, like, um, it helps, it helps make you perform better. So like when you perform vigorous exercise, you get a surge of serotonin into your brain. Same when you get sunlight, if you get a lot of sunlight throughout your day, or if you listen to the sound of birds singing, it can reduce anxiety. And, if I fast every day, then I reduce brain fog, for example. So I know that I can perform at my best, and then I'm very confident that I can handle whatever challenges the world faces, whatever the world throws at me.
Yeah, wonderful. I was going to say music too. Can a lot of things can affect
Yeah.
us. And I think when you said like your brain keeps score of everything, it just yeah, that is true. So I guess I would just say to the audience like nothing is ever wasted. You may feel even if you feel like crap one day, but you're doing things to take care of yourself and to try to like every action you take for your health, for your well-being, it adds up somewhere, like strengthening that muscle so that it can come more easily next time, even if it doesn't work this time, today. That just came to me. I wanted to share that. But for you, like
Yeah.
when do you think that you really made that change to developing that full confidence in yourself? Like, do you remember? Was it just a gradual process? Was there one key moment that stood out for you? And it could be hard because it could be years ago.
I really think it's a lifelong process, of getting experience and, training myself. Um, but I would say that, I mean, COVID was a great example, right? Like, so many people lost their whole livelihood and everything that they had, during COVID. And for me, like, I didn't lose anything. I mean, I was stuck in Vietnam for 2 years. I couldn't travel. I love to travel. That was the main downside. But I was still prospering and thriving in my personal life, my professional life. And I realized during that time, I didn't really need anything external to be happy. I mean, as long as I had the things that I love the most in my daily life. So, Vietnam wasn't hit too hard. We could still go out, we could get like takeout food. But I mean, I was like in Da Nang, for example, by the beach. I could go down to the beach. I could do calisthenics, exercises, which I love doing. I can sit in the sunshine on the sand. I can eat good food. I can socialize with people I like. All of these things. I have a comfortable bed to sleep in. Like these are just the things that I value the most, and I can have them every day. Uh, and so, as long as I have that, like I'm content with everything, and I can face everything. So I think that it's just, finding the simple joys in life and, being content with who you are and
Absolutely.
what you
And
have.
everything else is just bonus. I think so many of us forget just like we have warm water, we have the roof over our head, we have delicious that we can even travel now and try so many things that we couldn't before. I mean, life is great. Why aren't we all blissing out over everything that we have? Um,
Yeah, but I think when I was younger, like my mind had a tendency, and I think a lot of people do this, like where they have a tendency to focus on, like let's say you wake up in the morning, but you're happy, but your mind is like looking for any kind of dissonance, where something disavows your reality and says like, okay, I'm an imposter, like I'm not really as happy or successful as I am. So it tends to like overplay, any criticism or rejection that like bursts that bubble that you're creating for yourself. So I think that the mind tends to focus a lot on the unkind word that someone said, or that time when you fell short, or you didn't get first place in the race, or and it uses that to affirm that you're not as good as you are. Um, so I think a big part of the reversal is, not letting those negative things affect you, not spending so much time focusing on them and reliving them in your mind over and over again. and really focusing on all the abundance and support that the universe is giving you. And these are often things that we take for granted. We spend a lot of time like focusing on the one negative thing that really bothered us. But then we overlook like someone smiling and saying good morning as we walk past, or someone holding the door open for us, or someone giving us a little bit of extra food with our meal or something like this. And it's like these little small gestures of kindness and love that we take for granted, that if you appreciate them, you realize that you're always supported. And then you can focus a lot more on those little blessings and those gestures of love, and learn to reject the bad ones, and so that they don't affect you nearly as much.
I love that. Thank you. It's so true. And I guess we only have like 3 minutes left. Would you like to share any final pieces of advice, thoughts, or just how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. Well, I did prepare a lot of thoughts when I read your questions, but I will say that,
Part two.
yeah, that's okay. We can do a part two. Um, yeah, I mean, have faith in yourself and the process, the habits we talked about. There's an expression I learned from Sri Kumar Rao that says, uh, you want cake in life, but life gives you vegetables. So it doesn't always give you what you want; it gives you what you need. So rather than, like being someone like lusting after cake, complaining that you're not getting it, or demanding the government should give it to you, I've learned to love the taste of vegetables. And so I have faith in myself, in my routines, and optimizing my life. And that helps me to deal with everything and do it in a joyous way. And if what I say, resonates with you, I highly recommend checking out my book, Unlimit. We can provide a link to that. We can also provide my social media information. We have chapters you can download on the Kickstarter page for free if you want to get started reading. You can also get the whole book on there and several of my other books, as well as some other trainings and bonuses that we have. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or if my work is helpful to you. Happy to support you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danny. And I was one of Danny's early review readers. Definitely, there's a lot of great content in his book, so I absolutely recommend you check it out. And then what you said, like the vegetables and the cake, that reminds me of a similar related quote. Life isn't about waiting for the sun or trying to be in the sun all the time. It's about learning to dance in the rain. So learning to dance no matter what is happening externally. And that's what will give us true power and joy, and that internal peace that so many of us are searching for. Well, thanks so much.
It's
And
hard to be, yeah, I was just gonna say it's hard to be depressed when you're dancing.
yeah, that too, that is physiology. But yeah, well, happy to have you for a part two sometime. Thanks so much for taking the time today, and see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, Tony. Bye.